Recorded at the Kitchen Studios. This is the Pencil Pushers Podcast.
Welcome, Leadheads, to yet another fine episode of the Pencil Pushers Podcast. As always, I'm your humble host, Mike Rosado. Today, we have a lot of fun chatting with on-the-rise artist Lisa Quinn, who's best known for her comic series, Monsters in the Merlot. Lisa dives into the ever-real-life world of what many of us can relate to, building street cred as an indie artist while juggling sometimes 2 or 3 totally separate, non-creative jobs. We also chat about how art can be used as a way to navigate serious and very personal issues like depression and bipolar disorder. She was a total delight, and I already can't wait to talk with her again. So everyone, follow her on Instagram while you listen in at Monsters in the Merlot. And now I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy our chat with Lisa. Lisa, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
Awesome. As I was telling you before, I got to basically get 2 people who are close to me to knock on my door and say, Lisa Quinn, you need to have her on the podcast. So I'm really, really pleased to have you on. And it's cool because I got to know a little bit about your comics through just scanning through Instagram. And just, they were always the ones that made me pause and made me laugh more than a lot of the other ones that I'd actually kind of been scrolling and just kind of passing by.
Thank you.
And,
wow.
Yeah, they're really clever, and I love the immediacy of the artwork itself because it's so simple, and you're immediately drawn to the character and what they have to say. So it's really a lot about the storytelling and the simplicity of your form, the way you're able to do it in a way that you can get what their personality is like and where they are in the moment is really awesome.
Yeah, I've been told that I'm a writer trapped in an artist's body.
Yeah.
Kind of like, and I think I do focus more on the dialogue. Like I'll sit there and go over and over, like, how should this sentence come off? Where should there be a pause? Which word should have the emphasis on it? I do so much more thinking about that than I do the actual doodle.
Yeah. But did you start out drawing, or was creative writing kind of a thing? Like, what was your story from the beginning? How did you get into the creative process?
All I did was draw. Like, we were pretty poor, so we didn't have a lot of toys or other things. And I had 2 older sisters, and they would just constantly fight. So I was just always in the corner drawing. And my mom, actually, she kept me home from school, I think 60 days of kindergarten or something. But luckily I was smart enough that they went ahead and passed me to 1st grade anyway. But I would just sit at home with her.
Humble brag.
Yeah, right. Oh, I could color in the lines. But yeah, I would just draw. That's all I did. And then, as I got older, other, they give you assignments, and the other groups would come over and be like, hey, Lisa, can you draw us a horse for our poster too? Or something people just so I've been doing art for free for a really long time, I guess. So nervous.
No, it's all good. So yeah, you started out drawing more as a way to be a little bit different than what your sisters were doing.
Yeah, it was just all I ever enjoyed doing. And when I was going to go to college, that's just when my parents were like, what are you going to go to college for? Art. It was just obviously art. That's the only thing I've ever been good at. I didn't finish college. I did very mediocre in most other classes or any other subject. That's all I've ever wanted to do is just doodle and draw art. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So were you before you got into college, were you doing kind of fine arts type stuff, or were you more focused on kind of comics and stuff like that?
Art classes. I definitely had art classes. I definitely do acrylic paintings in my free time on the side, even now.
Yeah.
But I also really enjoyed comics. I loved Garfield. I loved Dilbert. I loved The Far Side. I loved that everything was just in one panel, which is probably kind of where I got a little bit of that.
By the way, do you know that Far Side is coming back?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I saw a foreshadowed. I guess I shouldn't say that it's a foreshadowed one panel comic, because it's always one panel comic, but it was a little teaser trailer, I guess it was, of the fact that they're coming back. So yeah,
that is
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
What's his name? Gary Larson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I moved in high school. My favorite comic was Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, where he just killed all these like really stupid people. It's the same guy that did Invader Zim. Like his original comic was Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. So I actually in high school used to draw comics of my teachers. I guess maybe I have a thing with authority figures or something, because like eventually that became me being a server and like making fun of managers or something. But in high school it was me making fun of my teachers, and my fellow students would like be like, oh, I want to read it, and they'd like borrow it and like give it back to me in the hallway so I could keep working on it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So did you like join the high school newspaper or anything like that? And any kind of
it wasn't fun. We didn't have a fun high school newspaper.
Where did you grow up?
It was Weaverville, North Carolina, North Buncombe High School. Like it also just kind of seemed like more of like the I don't want to say the like super popular kids. Like it wasn't like the cheerleaders, but there was like this like group of girls that kind of just like dominated like that kind of stuff. And I mostly hung out with like the theater kids or punk rock kids.
Yeah. So you were already doing comics in high schoul. What was kind of the next step? Did you lean into art school or
no? Well, I guess it went from making fun of teachers to I started working at Arby's, and I used to draw a lot of comics of me killing myself in the milkshake machine, which was also a little bit like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
Okay.
But then I wanted to go to art school. And I remember my dad was trying to be supportive of me, and he came in and he was trying to think of some kind of art-related career. So he was like, Lisa, you know those doors that people have and it has their name painted on it? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, you could be that person that paints their name on the door. And I remember thinking, like, I don't want to be the person painting the name on the door. I want to be the person behind the door. Mm-hmm. So I went to college. My first major was it was an international business major with a minor in Chinese. I was not good at either of those things. I was really bad at both of them. And so then I switched to like a Spanish major, and none of this was good because I'm definitely dyslexic and have a hard time with reading and words. But like, adding Spanish in there now, like F's and like letters look fine wherever, and I also took a little bit of German. They recommend that you take another language to get a better perspective on languages. So as I was a Spanish major, I was also taking some German classes. So like K's, I's next to E's, like all of it. I think it made things worse as far as like writing for me.
Yeah, I wonder what it would have been like if you had taken Russian.
Oh gosh,
you know what I mean? Like that's kind of a weird language when you see the writing of it. It's like, wait, it's reversed, but it's the same. And
oh my gosh. Yeah. I can write backwards actually. Like sometimes I do write letters backwards.
I like writing upside down.
Oh, I can do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be misspelled, but I can do it
later.
Okay, I'm into it. But yeah, actually, when I do Monsters in the Merlot, I'll get comments and people will be like, "You misspelled that," and that drives me crazy, and I hate that. So I actually spend a lot of time like on my phone, like trying to make sure that I'm spelling a word correctly, and sometimes I still mess it up.
Yeah. Nice. So tell me about like. So you were there for a little while. You went to college. You did studied, so it was international studies, right?
Yeah, international business.
International business. And what was the objective there? Were you trying to just get out of college?
Sassy business lady. I had no idea.
Yeah, really? Okay.
Just my objective was to make my parents happy. That was my objective.
Yeah.
Love me.
Yeah.
God.
So did you find that they were actually pleased with your decision as far as the college direction you were heading in?
They were originally pleased, but I think as they saw me like not doing well and failing those classes, I think they were a little less pleased. And then there was a second where I was like, well, maybe I'll be a biology major and do science things. Like I really was just trying to make them happy, and they were happy with that for a second. And then they recommended Spanish, and I gave that a try. And somehow I was a little bit better at that than anything else, but still not great.
Yeah, were you a good student?
I was a mediocre student. I think up through elementary school, I always made A's, and then I got my first C's in middle school, and I remember that was a little bit of a wake-up call, so I had to try a little bit harder, but I was still more of like a B and C student.
Right, yeah. I always had that. I have a buddy of mine who said C's get degrees, so I really like that philosophy a lot.
Yeah. I just doodled too much. I think I just wasn't paying attention a lot of the time.
Yeah, that was definitely a problem for me, too. So were you still drawing in college, or what was... Yeah.
I wasn't taking art classes, but definitely in the margins of my paper. I was definitely...
Right, yeah. So did you graduate with that degree and everything? Or?
No, I didn't graduate. I'm still paying off student loans for a degree that I don't have.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then so then what happened after that?
Yeah, I think I finally just gave up on college. Just decided that like it wasn't for me. It wasn't working. Because I kept leaving, taking some time off, coming back, changing my major, leaving, coming back. Like I've been to 4 different schools. Like I used to joke that I was like making a tour around North Carolina, just going like I went to ECU, I went to UNC Charlotte, I went to NC State, I even went to Forsyth Tech, which is in Winston-Salem, for a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, just a collection of hoodies from all these different schools. But yeah, so I guess I just started waiting tables because I have anxiety, and walking up to a new group of people over and over and being like, hi, I'm Lisa, and having to do that used to be, I mean, it still is not my favorite, but it used to be my biggest nightmare. But it just made so much more money, and with having to pay back my student loans, like I had to make a certain amount of money. So that's why I'm not a dishwasher, or like that's why I don't work at Starbucks, which is actually a really great company to work for, by the way. But I just needed more money, and so it was either that or I don't even know what.
Yeah. So you work through the. It's interesting. I heard a good bit of advice. It's like if you have something you're really afraid of, that's or something that you want, but you got something that's blocking you, like you're kind of anxious about it, and you just like, oh, I'm not going to do it or whatever. You like try to find the thing that you're more excited about that can like supersede the fear that you have. So it's kind of yeah. So for you, it was like having the money to pay back student loans, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm better at reading people than I used to be, but I remember I'd be peeking at customers through the fake plants, trying to figure out if they were ready to order or not. And I remember one guy yelling like, "Would you get over here?" Like he was just like so frustrated with me because I just couldn't tell. And now I can read them a lot better because I've been doing it for over a decade. Where I'm like, okay, they put down the menu. They were looking at the menu. Now they've put down the menu and they're talking. Obviously, they either it's at least worth checking on or something. Yeah. Like I can read the signs, so it's not nearly as nerve-wracking as it used to be.
Right. So I guess it's kind of like being the scientist in the jungle, like just kind of perusing, like looking at the gorillas from afar, and then the gorillas are like, just come hang out with us. You're fine.
Yeah, and it's almost like a tiny little play, and I know my lines, and they tend to have very similar lines. Like there's only so many things that they generally say. Like they're obviously going to order, they're going to ask you a question about wine or something, and I have typical answers for that. But sometimes they go rogue, and they'll start asking me about my personal life, and that makes me so uncomfortable and awkward and anxious because I'm like, okay, can we get back to the play?
Script?
To the script. Yeah, exactly. Can we get back to the script? Because I don't like this.
So what was the precipice for you getting into, like, because obviously, so for those that don't know, her primary comic is called Monsters in the Merlot, and it's largely about the service industry because obviously there's lots and lots of fodder to talk about, in general. But because, as they say, write what you know about, right? So obviously you're doing that. So what was the precipice to kind of get you to start diving into that, and then also having it actually be a thing? Because you might just, have it on a sticky note that you just have in your house that you just chuckle to yourself, but you were like, no, I think I'll put this online. Yeah,
they used to be on sticky notes. Like in other restaurants, sometimes I just stick it behind the counter and people would laugh, but then it would just like disappear and get thrown away. So I recently found out that I'm bipolar, and because of that, like I feel feelings more, and I make emotionally charged, or used to, like I'm way better. But I used to make a lot of emotionally charged decisions, and so there's a couple of times in my life where like my entire life just felt like it had like fallen apart, like due to these like me seemingly meaningless decisions that kind of like all crumbled together. So like my life had fallen apart again for like the third time or something. I was in Winston-Salem.
When was this, by the way?
This was probably 2015, 2016.
Okay.
I was in Winston-Salem, and luckily my loving sister Michelle, who lives in Raleigh, took me in, and I was living in her side bedroom, and I was in Raleigh, and I didn't know anybody, and I decided to just kind of do what I always do, is like draw in the corner, and so I was just like drawing my life, and it was supposed to originally be a life comic, but I didn't have any friends.
So there was some intention in it. There was some intention in like, oh, I should do this. I should try to create something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I was still putting them online yet. But like just for me, like as a journal thing, I guess I was kind of trying to create something, but I didn't necessarily know that I was going to put it online. So it was going to be Monsters in the Microwave or Monsters in the Merlot. And either way, the characters were supposed to be unique, different little monsters. Like one of them had like a toenail for a head or something. And but then I just kind of got lazy, or I just like, I guess as I wanted to record my day or like document what had happened at work, I just kind of like was quickly just doing like stick figures. And like, I'm not sure if they were just supposed to be sketches that later I was going to turn into monsters or not. But yeah, I eventually chose Monsters in the Merlot. And then it was just going to kind of just be like my journal about my day, I think. And then like all I did was wait tables because I didn't have any friends and I was trying to get out of my sister's house. So I literally worked doubles like every single day. And so it became that. And then I think around that point, like I already had an Instagram, but the very beginning of my Instagram is like pictures of my food and stuff. It's just like what everybody was taking at the time, like my cat, you know. But then at some point I did start posting those because I was like proud of one or something, and it actually got some likes, and then posted some more, got some more likes, and I honestly got addicted to the likes. I had like nothing else going on in my life, and so I got addicted to the likes, and I started.
Even for people who have tons of things in their lives, they're still addicted to likes. So don't make that a special thing. Trust me. I would like go into other people's things, and it's like one of these things that they teach in Instagram classes now apparently, where they're like, oh, you know, go onto somebody else's feed and like through their pictures and leave a comment, and they're more likely to follow you back and stuff like that. But I had just noticed, like, if I follow 100 people, 50 people follow me back and stuff, and I just started like figuring that stuff on my own just because I wanted like all the followers and stuff. And I noticed every time I posted a comic, I'd get more followers, so I started posting a comic like every day there for a little bit, and then at some point I finally kind of capped out where I didn't care as much, and so I was just doing it 3 times a week. Yeah. So is that kind of the rhythm now? Yeah. I mean, when I get busier, it kind of like falls apart a little bit. Like I have 2 jobs, and that's another reason why it continues to kind of just be stick figures. Like I've tried before to draw more background sometimes, or like mess with the colors a little bit more. But when it comes down to it, I just don't have a lot of free time. I don't watch movies. I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I just kind of work and try to get some painting in, or like draw the comics and focus on my Patreon and stuff like that. Yeah, and that's actually kind of cool because in general, I mean, in so many ways, you are the epitome of the independent artist who is maybe not necessarily like a Paul Frederick, who we could talk about later. Paul Frederick is basically doing that on his own. I mean, he was my unicorn when I met him. I think that was when I realized like maybe I could do this on my own, because he was the first person I ever met that wasn't a server/artist or a bartender/artist. Like he was just an artist, and I got so obsessed with that fact when I found that out. Yeah. As an independent artist, many of them are working 1, 2, maybe sometimes 3 jobs. So your story resonates a lot, I think. The fact that you're not doing drawings about Star Wars, as an example, you're doing it about your own personal life, I think resonates a lot with, and can exponentially resonate with a lot of people, because many people are living that same life too. So it's whether they're artists, whether they're servers, or whether they're working that desk job that they hate. It's very relatable in the fact that it's very personal. So I think that's like a very positive thing. But how do you manage that in terms of like how to, what I would assume you want to do is monetize it more and more, and maybe even potentially get to the point where it becomes like a career as a whole. Is that right? Right now I'm working on trying to like make a merch. Well, I have a merch store. It's Monsters in the Merlot merch.com, but I'm definitely trying to monetize it in some sort of way. If I could just work 1 job, if I could afford to work 1 job, I'd be happy. But right now I work 2. Basically, if you want it, you just have to work at it. Like I said, I don't really watch TV shows. At work, when people are talking about stuff, I get left out. I don't know what they're talking about. New movies, I have no idea what's coming out. So basically, I draw the comics, I make videos for my Patreon, I think about the website, like when am I going to find time to make new designs for the merch store, like how am I going to
sell this or like, do the next thing. Like, what am I going to do next? I'm going to try to have a show with the Munjo store people like in January. And it's like, well, I need to like think about like new designs for that stuff and everything.
Nice.
And like I learned a lot of that from like actually just like watching kind of Paul Frederick. So yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your story of meeting Paul and learning about him.
I can't remember who introduced us, to be honest, but just the moment that I found it, I was like, you're just an artist? And, you can reach out to your...
Did you just, like, walk up to him and just poke him on the shoulder and just say that, or what?
No, I'm not sure. I'm sure I fangirled out. So whoever introduced us, like, we met at a coffee shop. I think it was, like, Cafe de los Muertos or something at the time. It's not there anymore, but... I think somebody wanted me to show him my comics and get feedback, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm into that. I'm not sure how into it he was, but he was very nice and receptive and gave me some feedback on it. But yeah, I mean, you can reach out to people that you admire on Facebook and Instagram. It is so easy. So like, I actually reached out to him on Facebook and just started talking to him, and I offered to intern for him and be like, oh, can I set up a show for you and stuff? And like, I didn't know what I was doing, but for some reason it was a lot easier to do that for someone whose work I admired. Whereas like my stuff, even now I'm still a little bit like, ooh, I don't know if that's good, or I still have a hard time with that. But like, I love his stuff, so it was a really easy sell for me to walk into a place and be like, you should have a Paul Frederick show because he is the best, But yeah, I have a Paul Frederick tattoo. Like, I just think he's like the best person. I love his art. There's something about his art that sort of reminds me of like Snoopy and Garfield. Like, there's something nostalgic and childish about it, but then like the humor is dark.
Yeah, but the upside down world of it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a little bit, it's dark and it's funny, and I really love it.
Yeah. I'd love to talk a little bit more about how you really started to tap back into the art part, because you talked about discovering that you were bipolar, and there was something, I guess not an epiphany, but there was something central that was happening there when you were serving tables and you were working a lot of hours, and so what kind of happened there in terms of like, getting into discovering what you were dealing with, and then also the art part of that? Yeah,
I think a lot of servers end up working a lot of hours and doubles and stuff, but like I think I didn't realize it at first, but I think that I would snap. Like, I would just like get pretty upset about something and obsess about it, and I couldn't let it go, and I would write it down, and because I needed to like bitch about it later, and then drawing the comic, I guess, was my way of setting it right or something. It was definitely therapy. It helped me get it out. Monsters in the Merlot, like even when I was depressed and I was in my sister's side bedroom, like by myself, like it was a way for me to have therapy, to like speak.
Yeah. Is it can I assume that also finding the comedy in it was also helpful in the scenario that brought up the, I guess the eruption, as it were?
Yeah. Like, my mom, I feel like I learned to laugh at horrible things from my mom. Like, she had a really good way of like just finding the humor in the bad. Like, we had kind of like, growing up, we were kind of poor and things were rough, but and then my dad has a really great sense of humor, and I think from both of them I kind of just learned to laugh at like things that are hard. Like, I one time got screamed at in the kitchen of this restaurant over some cornbread, and the guy later apologized to me because he had been wrong, but there wasn't time to explain it because it was a busy dinner shift. And I had to go back on the floor and pretend that I hadn't just been yelled at in the face and be like, hi, how are you guys doing? Welcome, and it was just, and that whole situation, like, for me, it actually was in my head. I was like, that was ridiculous, and I was laughing.
Is it okay to ask what the story was behind the cornbread? Like,
it was a restaurant that had very specific food, like farm to table food, so they only had limited amounts of things, and so the cornbread was supposed to be part of an appetizer, and if somebody wanted just a piece of cornbread, like, we had a certain amount that was reserved for the appetizers, then we had like 3 pieces that like they could just have. So if somebody wanted cornbread, you're supposed to ask the chef. And there's 2 of them, and I guess I asked the sous chef or something, but I asked permission for the cornbread, and he gave me permission for the cornbread. He didn't say, go ask the other guy. He was like, oh yeah, sure, here you go. Right. And then I was on the floor, and one of the food runners pulled me back, said, "Oh, like chef wants to talk to you," and pulled me back, and I was like, "Oh, what is it, chef?" And then he was like, "Ah!" He was just like yelling in my face, and he was like, "If you ever do that again, I'm gonna have my runners come out and grab you off the floor, and I'm gonna have them bring you back here, and I'm gonna make you ask me for whatever, blah blah blah. Now ask me for the cornbread." And I was like, "Can I please have the cornbread?" And yeah, it was just ridiculous because honestly, like I mean, I understand the point, you know. How dare we have to go back out and be like, sorry, we don't have a piece of cornbread to a customer. Like, you know, that would be the worst thing ever. But I mean, I thought it was a bigger waste of time. I'm on the floor. I'm actually very busy. This is wasting time right now.
Right.
The whole thing just felt very silly to me.
Yeah. So anyway, so that became sort of a precipice in terms of like how to express.
Situations like that. But that one was like one of the bigger ones. Like definitely, and some of my favorite comics, some of my best comics have come from like the worst days of my life. Like there was this one comic that I drew where I'm just underwater and there's a shark and it's just like life is just like destroying me. I'm drowning in life or something, and I was crying when I drew that comic. Like it was a very bad day. Yeah. But yeah, days like that, like those ended up being some of my better comics actually.
Yeah, It's interesting. I think that people who, you know, like artists in general, but I think in general, people who tap into various parts of creativity, whether it's like craftspeople or whatever, I mean, it's obvious that we use art in a way to navigate difficult times or even difficult like personal situations. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I think that you're able to connect with an audience is because you bring that personal level. It's like, you know, Kathy is very much a lot like that, who's, you know, obviously she's incredibly successful. My God, man. I mean, but she, you know, she's like that. Ziggy to a point is a little bit like that too.
I think it's interesting. Kathy, apparently, like she only submitted her stuff to the newspaper to get her mom to shut up because her mom kept telling her that she should submit her stuff. Yeah, that's the only reason. She was like, fine, and then it ended up being successful.
Nice. Yeah. She's a powerhouse for sure. Who are your other influences?
I mean, I would say mostly like Garfield and The Far Side. Like
still to this day, or are you not as influenced so much anymore?
I don't think I think I'm influenced by my environment. Like sometimes I feel bad because I don't even feel like I wrote it. I literally just wrote exactly what that person said to me, and then I guess the response that I had is my original content. But a lot of the times I don't write anything. Like they just do it, and there's so many characters in restaurants and like the type of people that come in and they just don't understand. I think my favorite thing is like the miscommunication because sometimes I know customers aren't trying to be jerks and they don't know they're being jerks. And then I just that miscommunication that like leads to like a misunderstanding. Like I love kind of picking that apart.
Yeah, I mean all the best comics. I mean at least the ones that I love. I mean I love, you know, the going as far back as like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. I mean it was always stories about people who just normal people who are going through like really difficult times and somehow they want this. They're in some ways they're almost like the anti-hero, you know. And
my parents, they actually raised us on black and white movies, and so I watched a lot of Laurel and Hardy, and Charlie Chaplin, Three Stooges, yes. And I don't know, I feel like there was a moment where I was like, wait, there's color TV, like because we just watched so much of that. Yeah, like Groucho Marx, oh my God.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to ask my parents, I'd say, did people only see in? I thought that they only saw in black and white. I had no idea. It's like, when did we get to see in color? You know? Yeah. But that was, and I think in some ways it's still some of the best comedy is still kind of like that. You know, that's why I tend to really like the really goofy, exaggerated comics like Jim Carrey and Ben Stiller. You know, it's always the ones that are just the average type of people, you know, who are going through their day just like living different, you know, dealing with
relatable, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So are you considering or do you ever consider doing comics that are not in the server industry or service industry, I guess you're saying?
Actually, I kind of started another comic that like I'm not ready to I've started posting on it, but there isn't a whole lot there. I actually kind of started trying to do stand-up comedy for a little bit. I actually always kind of wanted to do that. I always admired those people that could just get on stage and like make people laugh. And I was always had a horrible stage fright, actually. And so I don't know why. I've never wanted to jump out of an airplane. Like, I've never had like that kind of like, I want to face my fear of jumping out of an airplane. I have a fear of it. I don't want to face it. I'm good with that. But stage fright, I wanted to face. And so like, I remember I started off with guitar open mics because that was easy because like they're supposed to be quiet, and then at the end, even if they're not listening, a lot of the times they're like, woo, they'll just like clap anyway, so it's like not that bad. But then I started doing like trying to do some stand up, and it was reasonable, but it wasn't that great. Like, I needed to spend, it takes a lot of time. Like, those people spend a lot of time writing and then like going to open mics. Like, some comics go to like 3 open mics a night. Like, they'll drive around.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym for them.
Yeah, to work on jokes, like work on delivery and stuff. And I just absolutely do not have that type of time. Like, but I have like writing. I have books and books of just like stupid ideas or silly ideas. And so like this other Instagram that I've kind of started, I've like, it has a lot more writing to it. Like, I guess I think it's like Hyperbole and a Half, where she has a lot of writing and then she has like some drawings in between. Like, I guess it's a little bit more like that, where there's like a lot more writing with just like a little doodle or something. But a lot of them are like ideas that were supposed to be stand-up jokes that just never got developed.
Yeah. You know who does the books that are similar in nature? Are, to me at least, are like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh, my nephew has that, but I haven't read it.
Have you ever read through those?
No.
My stepdaughter, she had those, and she has them, and she just obsessed over that because she has dyslexia as well, and so she didn't really start reading like, long form deep books until later on, but she used Diary as a Wimpy Kid as a sort of like a gateway to reading actual books and stuff like that. But they had a lot of like really simple comics, so it's sort of like a book, but it's written it's sort of written like a kid journaling, right. and so it's a lot about like him going through the day, getting beat up in class, and by the bully, or dealing with his bratty kid brother and stuff like that. And it's just really clever.
I to this day still prefer books with pictures.
yeah, me too. So you are kind of experimenting a little bit with that, and maybe potentially, like, what's your kind of, do you have any like projections of like, oh man, I would really like to come up with like a printed book that I could sell and maybe go to like comic conferences and
in the works. I have one in the works. I think it'd be really neat to go to like Comic-Con and places like that, but I guess I still don't have enough confidence in it that like I think I'm ever gonna like be able to do that, because like in my head I'm like, well, could I get off work? Like like I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, waiting tables is sort of flexible, but like could I get like a Saturday night like to do like First Friday, or a Saturday off to do First Friday? Right, you know what I'm saying? Like to get the night off on a busy night.
Do I make $150 or maybe 30 on a booth somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. And like I have gotten off and done like a First Friday event and sold absolutely nothing. I actually gave away some stuff, so it's like, I mean, maybe one day, like maybe it would get big enough, and like if people actually start buying stuff, maybe that is the direction it could go into. But I guess I have a hard time projecting it too far. Like I look like 3 feet in front of me or something. Like it's hard for me to dream too big, because I just don't quite see it, but like I can see 3 feet in front of me pretty well. Like I actually have a book that we're putting together, and we're trying to get it printed for the January event. I have a friend named Eris. She actually does like knitting. It's modique couture. But she
what is that? I don't know what that is.
She has these like looms from the 70s that she like put together, and then she like makes. I almost wore one of her sweaters today, actually, but like she like makes like these really beautiful beautiful clothing, and but she also does graphic design work, and so she pushed me. If it wasn't for her, this book probably wouldn't be as far as it is.
Wow. What's her name again?
Eris Swanstrom.
Okay.
Yeah. Like at Modique Couture. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so tell me a little bit about the book now. So what is it exactly? It's
a collection of like my earlier stuff. Like some of the stuff that like if you go far enough back on my Instagram, it started off as just me drawing with a pen and then taking a picture of it with my phone.
Okay.
But because I spell so horribly, like I would get halfway through it and I would misspell something, or write it, decide that I want it worded differently, and it would be too late to go back and I'd have to redraw the whole thing. So I upgraded to an iPad. And then like, and so like the first iPad, I was using a different program. So those are a little bit more simple and cute. And
so
honestly,
you're using Procreate now, right?
Yeah, now I'm using Procreate. I can't remember what that first program was. But the first program, or that first series, the writing is pretty bad because a lot of the times I was drinking and just like scrawling the words across or whatever, and they're very rough, very raw, and so so I have that series, and so I want to put that one out first as a collection together, and then kind of move to the next series because that program, they updated it and it made it more cutesy and it was better, but it looked different. So that series kind of has a different look to it. And like, I don't know if anybody else would notice these things except me, but like, I want to kind of like release them in groupings of like, you know, how they look.
Mm-hmm. And are they, would the book be like panel to panel type thing, or would it be, you know, almost like journalistic or you know, like journaling as well, where you've got, you know, your panels and then you've got like some writing underneath and kind of talking a little bit about that experience, or what's the...
Yeah. This first one doesn't have a lot of like personal commentary to it because a lot of those were so long ago that like I don't know how many of them I have anything to say about. And then also I've been so busy, like I said, if it wasn't for Eris, like we wouldn't be this far as we are with it right now. Like we just have like a couple finishing touches to add to it.
Yeah. How did she get involved?
She's I was talking about being bipolar, and she's actually bipolar as well, and it was such like a relief, or it was just like so amazing to meet somebody else, and she, you know, she's on medication. Like right now we're working through my medication, like we're trying to figure out the correct cocktail for me, and so sometimes like I've had some medication that was just like sedated me so badly that I was sleeping like 14 or 15 hours a day, and then I'd get up and I was just really, really tired, and I was like, this one's not working, you know. Yeah. So we switched it up, but she's the reason that I keep pushing towards the medication, because like I look at her and she is just like a successful business lady, and she's calm and she's happy and she has a successful relationship, because that's something that I've had a hard time with, is staying in one city, keeping the same job for too long, staying in a relationship. Like all of those are kind of like issues that I've had. And like me and her had the exact same story, and then like, and so she's just been like this like a really, really good friend ever since that, and we like has been just kind of guiding me and helping me. Yeah. And so she wanted to help me with the book.
Like a personal ally as well as like a creative one.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like just really amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah. Shout out to her.
Yeah.
So you're working on that. You've got obviously Instagram is your main outlet right now for releasing your comics. Are you monetizing much right now? And like, so are you doing it?
Yeah. No. Working a little bit. I get like 150 to 200 on Patreon, kind of depending on like how many people like give me $1 that month and how many people like take away, not take away, but I don't expect anybody to support me for the rest of their lives or something, but if they want to give me $1 a month for 5 months, like I'm into that. Like that's awesome. Every dollar adds up and counts, and that pays for like my grocery money or something, you know.
Yeah. By the way, I've only dabbled in paying for someone through Patreon. I really don't know that much about it, but I'm incredibly fascinated. Maybe this would be a good way for you to explain it to other people that might be interested, because it seems like it's an amazing idea for creatives.
Yeah, it's a way for artists to get paid for the work that they do. And I've messed with different ways of doing it, like, I'll post one comic for free, and then if you want the other comics, you have to like give me money on Patreon or something. And like I don't know, I like the likes too much. I like to put them all out there, and I like to see the likes and stuff. So like, it's hard for me to keep any of them private. So like for me, it's just like, if you like what I do and you have extra money, and you'd like to support me, it'd be really super awesome. Yeah. And I have that on Patreon, and like I do have like a good amount of like people that like what I do. And they can message me privately. Like I love talking to them, because like I don't have a lot of like close friends. I have a lot of acquaintances. But the people that I meet on Patreon or through Instagram that reach out to me and say like, hey, you made my day, or like, I really enjoyed this comic, like, thank you so much. Like that means a lot to me, and I like love that.
Right. Is it just like through DM, or is it like, are there Like you can't chat. There's no like online thing where everybody can kind of communicate with you through Patreon.
There might be a group
like
chat.
more of a social
I think
aspect.
There is like a community board on Patreon. I feel bad because like I'm not exactly sure how to use that. I know that they can privately message me and they can leave a comment, but I don't know if there's like a community board where all of them can talk to each other. I'm not sure about that.
What's the name of like where can they find you? Is it literally just Monsters in the Merlot?
Yeah, it's Monsters in the Merlot on Instagram. Patreon.
I was meaning Patreon. Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Patreon is like www.patreon.com/monstersinthemerlot. And then like I've actually been dabbling with like some YouTube videos and like that one's
I was
Lisa
going to ask
draws
you about
stuff.
that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Have you seen any of them? I feel kind of silly.
I've seen some.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're kind of like a mix of. I was thinking it might be more drawing.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's more like commentary throughout the day kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's sort of like the live action version of.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to animate. Like my favorite thing about Instagram, once they added the panels that you could slide, I liked messing with the timing because some of them I just have like the same panel like 5 times just to express an amount of time passing. And I liked messing with that. But I've always wanted to animate them, but the only way I could figure it out was like to record what I was drawing as I was drawing them, and I really wasn't that crazy about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of flashy.
It's like the time lapse thing where you
the time lapse thing. Yeah. And and then I don't know. I've been on the internet since LiveJournal. Like there was LiveJournal, and then there was MySpace, and then there's Facebook, and I think it's something
I have
about
no idea what LiveJournal is. I've
it
never
was
heard
so
of that.
early. Basically, it was just like teenagers being emo and like writing about their day and like I love this guy, you know. But I'm not sure if it's my generation, but I know me personally, like I've just been used to putting things on the internet, and so. I don't know. I have fun making the little videos. I have fun editing them. I'm getting better at editing them. Like I'm starting to add like words coming in and flashing and stuff and changing the scene and adding music and stuff. And like I'm really into all of that. And that's fun because it's something different, but it's also something kind of quick that I can do. Just like the stick comics are kind of quick. Yeah. It's quicker than me like actually figuring out how to like animate something, but I also just get to talk and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, quick non-sponsored plug for an app that I enjoy is called Splice.
Okay.
Splice is really intuitive. It's really easy to use. It's right there on your phone where you actually do the video work. I mean, this is kind of how I do it.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, so you can piece together different videos. You can have like kind of fade-ins, fade-outs. You can have like little title cards before. You can add captions on top of the video itself.
I love that.
You can add music to
that.
it. Yeah, like music that's already part of the app, so you don't have to worry about paying copyright or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because who wants to pay people for their creative? But anyway, Splice is a really, really great one. So if there are any people from Splice who want to throw us some money, I'll give a little bit to Lisa as well.
Yeah.
So I guess what we like to do is just have people, reiterate. You've already kind of touched on it a little bit. Where do people find you, and where can people find you virtually, and maybe where could they find you out in the world?
Oh no,
too?
I don't know about that.
No, not
I'm
like
so awkward.
Not like your address or anything like that, but like like where are you going to be at any Comic Cons? Even if you're just like walking through, and maybe you'll see me out there, and I'll have my shirt that says whatever. Where can people find you?
Well, virtually the biggest one is Instagram, Monsters in the Merlot, and then like Patreon, Monsters in the Merlot, and then on YouTube it's Lisa Draws Stuff. And if people want to email me, I mean, I guess you can just DM me. That'd probably be the quickest. But my email is also lisadrawstuff@gmail.com. Okay. But as far as out in the world, I don't have anything planned until January. Okay. So.
What's happening in January? That's literally right around the corner, believe it or not.
It is, actually, I guess. Well, so my birthday is January 18th. And it was always cold where I grew up, and so nobody ever came out to my birthday. It was always just like it was yeah. It was we grew up on the side of a mountain, and like it was just freezing cold. It was cold in the house.
Inside of a mountain?
No, on the side of a mountain.
Oh, on the side of the mountain.
Yeah, it was a really long driveway. Like we just didn't really have like big birthdays for me in particular, and also my dad. His birthday was right before mine, and he had like a seminar that he'd go on every year. Sometimes I'm not sure there was really a seminar. Sometimes I think it was like a week birthday thing for him or something. But my parents were gone. And so like I'm kind of a little bit of a birthday diva now where I'm like, I want my birthday to be awesome. So this year, January 18th, It's a Saturday. I'm planning something with at the Munjo. I can't remember if it's Munjo or if it's just Munjo, but like it's a shop that's actually right around the corner from here on Wilmington.
What is it?
It's they have like hoodies and sweaters and buttons and pins. They won like best new pop-up store, I think, recently.
Is it? Okay. Oh.
Yeah, but Munjo's the name of this like really fluffy little dog that he has, and that's like kind of like their spokesperson, and like he's on like a lot of the hoodies and things and like the buttons and stuff. And it's the cutest dog ever. Like he can like do math, like he'll hold up his fingers and be like, and the dog will bark. The dog is crazy.
Whoa,
like crazy awesome. But yeah, they have a little store right around the corner, so I'm gonna have like basically a birthday / book release like on January 18th. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize it was getting released that soon. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like I said, we've been working on it. We just have to like get it printed and stuff. So.
Awesome. So all you people hearing from California, get your tour bus ready. That sounds awesome. Lisa, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and would love to have you back if you would like.
Awesome. I'd love that.
Okay, cool. All right. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
All right, see you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Pencil Pushers Podcast. Follow us on Instagram at the Pencil Pushers Podcast for visual representation of our guest artwork, topics discussed, and anything else that contributes to the show. So be sure to subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell lots and lots of friends. Become a leadhead. And we're out.